Today I'm with my mom.
Hi. She'll grow up and put on her suits and try to change the world.
For the past 6 or 7 years that I've been doing aerial silks and circus work, my mom has been helping manage my gig company and all of my shows and helping me with insurance and teaching, and she's been really facilitating a lot of the behind the scenes work. So I thought it would be valuable to sit down and kind of do a Q&A with her before I leave for school and just talk about what it was like raising me and just industry stuff that she knows about now. So for reference, my mom does not have a performing arts career or anything like that and is not personally involved in circus besides helping me. So anything you want to add to that?
No, let's go.
All right. When did you see aerial silks go from a recreational activity to a viable career path for me?
Well, you had a rocky start, but you loved it. And because of your love of your aerials, you kept at it and you got stronger and your performances were beautiful. And after a few big performances, you got really good. And it seemed like something that you could pursue and you had the desire to pursue.
How has having a child in the circus industry changed your view of the circus industry?
Well, I had no idea it was so competitive and athletic and artistic. The circus of the old days was about animals and exploiting people, and it was generally for entertainment purposes only. But now that I see your involvement in local aerials and in circus activities and events, it's more than entertainment, it's artistic, and it's a valid way to get messages out to people. So I think there's a long path ahead.
How do you, as a parent, view circus school versus a traditional college education path?
Well, your 3 older siblings have college degrees, so we have a good understanding of what that entails. But I think it's more important to address that the world is changing, and those paths, those traditional paths, may or may not be beneficial to our society any longer or to the individual. This school is a rigorous schedule. It's not something that's easier necessarily or a simple path. It's as robust, as important, as significant, and as challenging. So I think you have to work hard. You still have to do the work. And at the end, you will have a slightly different career path, but it will be equal to and as valuable in our culture as any other college degree.
What is it like to support a child who participates in so many time-consuming and competitive activities?
Well, it's certainly a lot of work, but it's also a lot of fun. It's interesting to watch an evolution of an activity. You started off and you were an amateur, and now you're a professional, and all of what that entails is a lot of support, of course. I don't think anyone can do it without a support group, but to watch how it all unfolds is actually really part of the excitement.
Do you ever get tired of watching it all?
There have been a few performances that were long and lots of characters, and I always try to understand that each one of those students or professionals has someone out there in the audience that came to see them. So out of respect, you want to sit through it and enjoy it, and at the end, it's always fun. It's always exciting.
As some of you know, I was homeschooled. So as a homeschooling parent, was it ever hard to balance my education with my desire for creative performance?
Well, I think it was actually essential to have you learn at home so that we could accommodate your training schedules, and it was a lot more convenient to be able to move academics around different times of day and to give you days off when you needed them prior to an event. So it was actually essential and was not a problem.
So with that, do you think it's vital for other people to consider homeschooling if their child wants to be a professional when they're young?
Well, I think we're finding now that children are learning earlier their passions and their pursuits. And yes, definitely being in a school building all day long when you're really only getting a few hours of academics, it makes sense to, when possible, be at home and get your education in order and then also have time for your other pursuits. Absolutely.
Did you ever have doubts about me being successful at Circus Arts?
Well, you're a very determined person, so I think we just kind of knew that you were going to stay with it and try to reach those goals.
What change would you like to see in the circus industry?
Well, I think in all of the arts we need more funding and more support in the communities and localize things. We have these big extravagant shows that come to town every few months or so, but if we had local activities that were strengthened, they could fund those bigger events, but also it would be more inviting for people of all socioeconomic backgrounds, and it would also let younger people explore different avenues for their art and expression.
I absolutely agree. Do you ever want to try recreational circus activities for yourself?
I have tried. Blissy has given me a lesson, and just putting the foot locks on was most excruciating. So if it looks easy and beautiful, that's part of the art because it is painful.
How do you, as a parent, deal with the high-risk element of my job?
Yeah, it was very difficult at first. I was, off as anyone would be, afraid that something would go wrong, and it's got some danger to it. But because you've become well versed in rigging and you're very safety conscious, I don't really worry about it. I know that you're diligent and you're managing and minimizing your risk, and that's good enough for me.
All right, last question. What advice would you give to another parent whose child is interested in this line of work?
Well, we need to consider that this is more of a fusion activity. It's art, it's community, and athletics. It comes together very beautifully, and it's quite viable. It actually is probably more needed in our culture and our society today to have messengers of goodwill, and the arts has always been more palatable to the masses. So I think the public in general is going to benefit from seeing bigger, weightier issues in our world minimized to an understanding of how we can all participate.
Awesome. All right, well, thank you so much, Mom, for taking the time to come talk to us today. Everyone, I will see you next Sunday. I hope you have an awesome rest of the day, night, or week whenever you're watching this, and bye-bye.
This little daisy girl wasn't made to break.
Traditional education path.
Well,